Test, test. Okay, I think we have audio. Hello. Okay, welcome. Welcome. Audio good. Nice. We worked it out. So welcome everybody. Few folks here. Yeah, still kind of new. I did one live before and I used my phone. This time I'm using my laptop. Good morning everybody. Good morning. I'd love to see where you guys are from. Start things off here. Yeah, last live I was pulling staples and now I get to be in like a more or less finished and air conditioned space. Pretty nice. We got Washington State. Greetings from Germany. What time is it in Germany? Is it what would it be later? It's like in the evening in Germany. Italy. Very cool. Very cool. So yeah, I had a vacation. This is the first week after 95 weeks of making a video every single week that I let myself not have a video. And this is the substitution for the video. It's just a lighter lift for me to not have to edit and to do a live Q&A, and it gives you kind of a different taste. I don't know. Lives are still so new to me, and it's interesting. So, love from Society Hill right here in Philadelphia. Nice. So yeah, the idea is just to do a Q&A. I asked on Instagram for questions uh, a while ago, and then I never got around to making a Q&A video. Um, and I think it's kind of more interesting to be able to answer questions on the spot rather than like, I don't know, pre-recording them. So let me know what you guys are curious of. You know, if you're thinking about doing a renovation yourself, especially if you're in Philadelphia and you have a row home, I would love those types of questions. Otherwise, just anything about my experience renovating. I mean, you see a lot on YouTube, but there's a lot behind the scenes. Okay, one question I get all the time: are you purchasing that property directly next to you? You mentioned it a while ago. Yeah, I like to give updates on this. Basically, it's like the situation is not time sensitive. The owners are thinking about if they want to renovate or if they want to sell it, and there's a lot of different. It's like a family, and there's an older guy who owns it, and I talked to his son, and they just haven't figured out what they want to do, which is great because I'm not in a position right now where I'd want to buy it. So hopefully they just don't decide for another year, and then I could come to them with an offer and potentially buy it. But yeah, right now I'm just not ready. I got to finish my house. You know, I can't sign up for another mortgage right away. Um, so it's still a possibility. Did you end up treating most of the new framing with Boracare? Are you concerned about termites? I treated only. I actually treated like the whole house, but I treated several times over like the wood that's on the first floor and near the ground. And I think that stuff can be good for like 20 or 30 years. So it's not like infinite protection. But when you mix the Boracare with the termite treatment, which is when they go and drill and put the stuff into the ground, I feel pretty good about it. The termite treatment for the ground, it was $1,000, and you're supposed to do that every 5 to 10 years. So I'll probably do that again eventually to be safe. Other questions? I'm an architecture student. Hope you're having fun in school. Sorry. Student focus on renovation, so it's really interesting to see how things are done on the other side of the world. German, Europe, we do things completely different to the US. Yeah, that's one of the age-old comments that I'll never stop getting. Europeans that are like, "Why are you building out of wood? Like, why aren't you building out of brick like we do?" And it's funny too. Some people I think have like an elitist mentality. You know, they're in Europe and they're like, American construction is so cheap and you're building out of cardboard. But it's really about just different cultures, different available resources. Like in the US, we have huge forests, a lot of trees in Canada. So it's a readily available and cheap resource. And it's funny because masonry doesn't mean it's going to last forever. Some masonry lasts forever, and some wood structures last forever. Like there are pagodas that are, I don't know, like 4,000 years old or something, made out of wood in Japan or China. Don't quote me on that. I forget how old it is, maybe 2000. Um, and with my house, it's like the bricks, some of the bricks were powder, and the bricks are kind of harder to repair sometimes. I could talk forever about that difference in building, but I'm glad you're interested in seeing how we do it here. And yeah, for a lot of reasons. It's a lot more flexible with wood to be able to run utilities in the wall, to be able to get more insulation, to make changes. It's a lot less expensive to demo like a room in a wood house than to get rid of a bunch of heavy stone and brick. Uh, there are farmhouses that were made out of wood still standing centuries later. Yeah, so it's really about maintenance. It's about water management. You know, wood is a fine material if you treat it well and you keep the termites out. Uh, Awake after midnight. So joining from Melbourne, Australia. Welcome, welcome to the folks down under. And I'm curious if there's anyone international where wood frame construction is like conventional and the norm. Oh yeah, the other part is like weather. Like in Florida, people build out of cinder blocks because they get hurricanes. You know, but here in the Northeast, we don't really get like tornadoes and hurricanes and heavy wind, so we don't really have to worry about it as much. Normal here in Norway for wood construction. Cool. If you were to sell the house, what would you sell it for? I mean, because I don't want to sell it right now, it would be at a premium because I don't want to sell it. So it'd be like $1 million, which is probably twice the market value. But that's just because I don't want to sell it. I think right now, like when I look at the comparable sales, I bought it for 230 and I put in like almost 200,000, and I think it's worth 500,000. So I got myself like 70,000 of equity, which isn't great considering I worked for a year and a half. It's okay though. You know, you can consider that equity as like my salary essentially for all the work I put into it. How did you become so resilient? One of the things my wife and I love about watching you is no matter how many mistakes are made or how hard it gets, you just keep trying, don't give up. Yeah, I think like a hugely influential part of my life in that regard was the bike trips I took. I got really into long distance, like biking, pedal biking. When I graduated high school, I biked to Florida, and it was just with one friend, and we didn't know anything at all. We had done some training, but like we were, you know, you're just young and naive. And there was a moment at the beginning of that trip, the first day we camped, we brought tents, and I woke up and my tire was flat, and I like couldn't fix it. And then I had to cut the bead of the tire to like get it over. I just did whatever I could to get back on the road, and it ended up working. And I feel like from that moment on, it was like I just learned to roll with the punches, figure things out. And then I ended up biking to San Francisco from Philadelphia. And the feeling of having a monumental task, like 2,000 miles across the country, and then breaking it down and every day just pedaling and then eventually seeing that goal complete, I think is what really transfers over to construction when you're starting a home renovation, a daunting project like mine. But I know that if I just show up every day, if I just work, you know, take little bites, eventually it'll be finished. So I think that really helped me in my mindset. What do you think is the main driver bringing people back from the suburbs to urban density other than jobs? I think big cities are seeing a change. Yeah, I think a ton about this actually. Of course, I invested here in Philly. I hope that it keeps getting better, and part of why I wanted to buy a house here is one, that I love it here, and also I have conviction that other people will continue to love it here, because I think there's a lot to offer. Like when you look back, people left the city in you know, the 40s and 50s because the suburbs were this new promise, and also cities were hubs of manufacturing. So there's terrible air quality, there's smog and pollution, and it's just wasn't a great place. And now, obviously that's not an issue because we're deindustrialized. All our warehouses are in China where everything gets made, and that's a whole other kind of problem. But the good thing is we have cleaner air now. And if that, I don't know, I think that's the big downside is the pollution and stuff. I mean, also the space. But I think that Americans are like a little space crazy, and I hope that that is culturally shifting. That like we don't need these like giant 3,000 square foot McMansions. And I get it when you have a lot of kids, that's trickier. But I don't know if I have a lot of confidence that America will get there because we are very like individualistic. We love our private cars and our private spaces, but I hope we can be more communal. And instead of having a big private fenced in backyard and a big house, we can live in a city and you have a giant park right down the street and you have everything you could need outside of your house, which then builds community and like helps solve the whole like loneliness epidemic. I got a lot of ideas on that. Big tangent. How technical are you looking to have your Wi-Fi set up? Dude, not technical at all. I'm not a network guy, and I just barely set up the Wi-Fi good enough to use. And luckily, I have Ethernet to this computer, which is pretty sick. And I did put a lot of work into my computer setup, where I have like an Ethernet switch at my desk, and then I have like a KVM switch so that my double monitor setup can be either on my my MacBook, which I'm on now, or my PC. So then I can switch between editing, and I use a lot of architectural programs on my PC, but I edit in Premiere on my MacBook. So that's the extent of my technical stuff. Yuppie suburban culture is too beloved. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Plaster patch back there in the top. Yeah. Lots of mess back there. This wall, I actually have the lime and the sand. I've been procrastinating, but I want to like plaster that properly soon. Do I play Minecraft? Oh boy, yeah. I played too much Minecraft. I was pretty antisocial in high school and played Minecraft till my eyes were blurry. Actually, this channel was started. This very channel that I post on was a Minecraft time lapse channel, and all those videos are hidden. But maybe I will make them public again for posterity. Plans for the outside stucco, siding, and trim. Yeah, that's a scary one. The stucco. I want to try removing it. I'm going to do it in sections. I'm going to remove the base first because that's where it will be in the worst condition likely because that's getting the most moisture, getting moisture up from the soil, and also all the rainwater gets down to the base. So if it looks okay on the base, I'll continue and see what it looks like up. But it's a whole can of worms and it could be very expensive if I take it off and then I have to end up restuccoing it if it's so bad, or worst case scenario, if it's so bad that I have to tear it all down. That would be really bad. I don't think that's the case. I know there's some brick damage here and there. I think it'll be okay, and I hope to do that maybe next summer. Not sure. I think I recall you mentioning Jenna Phipps videos before. Has her renovation inspired yours in any way? Yeah. I think that like I've definitely picked stuff up. I watch a ton of YouTube, and I learn from a ton of different channels. And I like when Jenna cuts back to old footage and has a little ding sound effect, and it just puts things into perspective. And I've definitely done that several times. I also love Michael Reeves. He makes like unhinged videos once every 6 months or something. But his energy is like unmatched and it's like ridiculous. And there's a ton of inspirations on editing and stuff. Chicago tavern style or New York style pizza? I would go New York. I'm a Northeast guy. Chicago is too thick. Have to say, Jenna and your videos are weekly bliss to watch. Yeah, a lot of love for Jenna Phipps. Honestly, like it's so funny how they're doing so well, and sometimes I actually feel bad about my renovation because of how right they do it. And I try to do things right, but like I just watched one of the recent videos, and they're putting steel between their cabinet frames because they have natural stone just like I do. And they know as well as I do that stone is not structural. So like I didn't do that. So if you were to hop up and sit on my countertop, it would likely crack. And I think that I'm going to learn a lesson or two in the future about these types of corners cut where like to me I'm like I'm not going to jump on the counter. Why would I ever do that? But if I have one person that comes over and jumps on the counter and breaks it, then I'm going to be like, okay, next time I'm going to put steel under my countertop. Um, and yeah, I mean, their project is in every way like better executed than mine. And what I'm jealous that they have two people, um, because Jenna handles the videos and Nick handles the construction research and like he in that video with the steel he was the one who did it in CAD, sized it all up, and that is a huge help. Like the workload of doing the YouTube videos makes it really hard to go the extra effort on the construction and design stuff. So yeah, more or less I'm a one-man team, so I got to do my best. What else we got? Well, yeah, they're probably planning for kids, so they would do that. Yeah, that's fair. I did a lot of bad things in regards to future kids living here. Like having a light well and the cable rail is not good for kids. The whole third floor, it's like a kid would find a way to fall down a hole down to a stairwell. Not kid friendly here. I'd rather have the old house than the modern house, which Jenna has. Yeah, I mean, they're very different projects. Like even the form factor, how mine's a vertical 3 stories and narrow and confined with the space. It's inherently a very different project than Jenna's. But yeah, there's something for everyone on YouTube. So many different types of renovation projects. Yeah, it has character. Yeah, and I think I do like not starting from scratch. They pretty much started from scratch. I almost did. I kept enough though, and even having the brick party walls, like what's behind me, even if the whole infill is new, you still have the two historic walls on either side. Total square foot of my home, that would be it's just under 1,500 square foot. And even so, like I said, how us Americans, I think, need too much space. With that amount of space, I wouldn't know what to do with it all, which is why I have a roommate. And also from the beginning, when I was looking at houses, I wanted to have a roommate just because I've lived with roommates my whole adult life so far. And the economics of it are like unmatched. To have someone help pay your mortgage, like it's cheaper for me to have a bigger house with a roommate than it is to have a smaller house alone, essentially, obviously. Nice. It looks bigger. Oh, that's cool. What other questions you guys got? Status of the dining table. Yeah, he actually came and took it back, and he's working on it. Hopefully, I'll get it back in a week or two, probably 2 weeks. And he's the nicest guy. Connor is the nicest guy. He was really happy because from the videos, a couple people reached out to him and have work for him to do, which I love. Thank you to you guys for that. So he was like, dude, I'll modify the table free of charge for you, which is way too generous because like I feel like the worst guy because I should have confirmed the dimensions and then to call him back a week later and say, hey man, we got to cut it down. I felt terrible. He offered to do it for free, but I offered him a split of the AdSense of the video. So he's actually going to edit up a sequence of him building the table. He posts stuff on YouTube and Instagram and he films everything. So that'll be coming in a couple weeks and I'm excited about it. But basically I'll take a percentage of the runtime of the video and split the AdSense with him as a thank you for his work. And I also paid him $400 for the time, which is like for a custom table like this is nothing. So he's still like giving me a great deal. And I love the table. Like the provenance of it, that it's the wood from the house, I think is so cool. Big enough for you to be recognized in the streets from time to time? Yeah, I from time to time, maybe once a week or once every other week. And every once in a while in random places, like I was in Pittsburgh walking across the street and I think someone just recognized my voice, like Chris. Or biking by, I'll just like hear my name. It's odd, but I appreciate it. And also, if you ever see me, definitely say hi. I'm never really in that much of a rush, and happy to chat. Are you going to have a reveal of the total spend? So curious. Yes, yes. I would like to do another recap video soonish, hopefully before the end of like the summer. And I want to tally it up like I did in that video, where like every single section of the build, I'll show the price. And I have a spreadsheet every single month. I do expenses and I break out all the house costs. And it's not good. It's not good. I think last time I looked at it, the total, like every single little bit, including the down payment, including the insurance, including the mortgage payments, including the utilities, plus all the construction, I think I was at $250,000. But when you get rid of all of the holding costs and the purchase costs, like the down payment, it's under 200. I think it's like 170 or 180 that's spent on materials, on subcontractors, on insurance, on permits, on engineering drawings, everything about the renovation. But I'll go more in depth sometime soon, I hope. Hope you enjoyed your time at the beach. Have you celebrated your accomplishments in any way? It's been a long road. Yeah, I had a celebratory lunch when the permits passed. That was about it. I mean, the celebration has been taking time off. The past month, I've put out videos, but I haven't done much. And it's been pretty relaxing. So that's kind of how I've celebrated. There's a really nice restaurant down the street that I want to take Morgan to this month, and that'll be a celebration as well. Thanks for giving me a window into my hometown pretty much in real time. I lived in Mount Airy section of Philly most of my life until I moved to Phoenix. Well, Philly misses you. I always hate when people leave Philly. We gotta build up our population here. It's kind of like flatlined since COVID, so you should come back. It's a great city, you know that. Seems hard for most people to do these renos with those numbers. Not everyone has the means like you do. Yeah, I mean, 100%. And I have a lot of friends in architecture that have taken a more conventional route at firms and are looking to buy houses now. And they're, young professionals, white collar. Architecture isn't super high paying, but it's decent enough that they can, think about getting houses. But it's much more responsible to buy a relatively move-in ready house for $300,000 instead of taking a huge risk like I did at $230,000. And I get that even buying a house at 300 is hard. I don't know exactly what the numbers would look like, but Philly has some first-time homeowner perks, and you might be able to get away with like maybe 20,000 for a down payment. And then if the house is move-in ready, the biggest hurdle is that 20,000 or whatever it might be. But we're all used to paying rent in the city, and the mortgage at 300,000 is probably, I don't know, 1,500 or something. So for young professionals with decent jobs in the city, like Philly is a really affordable city, so homeownership is somewhat achievable. But yeah, again, that 20,000, like I have a friend looking to buy a house now and having a wedding, and she has nothing on her registry. It's just house fund, just any money she can get starting out. She's going to put it towards a house. And that's how you have to do it. But yeah, totally agree. Doing a renovation project, I would not recommend it. And honestly, it's only because of YouTube and because I have a very unconventional job that's not limited to my hours. Like if I was working 9 to 5 and trying to renovate, it's just like impossible. But the fact that I was able to build the channel here on YouTube and get paid on YouTube to do the work I need to do renovating the house is really the only thing that made this feasible. So definitely word of caution, anyone diving into a renovation, that things always take twice as long and are twice as expensive as you think they're going to be. First place I looked at Philly, needed work. So glad I got the turnkey. Yeah. First place I looked at in Philly needed work. Yeah. Yeah. Like no, when I look at the numbers, it's egregious. Like I would have been way better off probably buying, if I wanted to, like a move-in ready $500,000 house, which when I was buying a house, I would have never done that because I don't want a $500,000 house. That wasn't in my budget. But by the time I finished with this place, it's like one thing leads to another. And also with the holding costs and paying rent while I'm renovating this place, it's real messy. Do you have any plans for the facade? I talked about it earlier. I want to remove the stucco, expose the brick. I am going to start on the base. If it looks good there, I'll continue up the house. And I need to replace all the windows, need to replace the door. Yeah, and it's just tricky because there's like power lines out there, high voltage, that I need to get protected, and I need scaffolding, and I probably need to close the sidewalk. I need permits. I'll probably get a dumpster in front of the house so that I can just throw the stucco right there instead of having to pile it up in my backyard. But probably a project for next summer, maybe. I have a lot of work inside that I want to just chip away at before I have to spend a ton of money again for that type of thing. You say you may have been better off buying turnkey, but you think the fact that everything is bespoken exactly how you want it makes it worth it. Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it's more a question of money. Like if it wasn't for YouTube, and when I started the project, I wasn't making any money on YouTube. It was just a hobby and a dream. And I would, before buying the house, I'd put out a video once a month and got maybe 1,000 views. And honestly, if it wasn't for YouTube, the project would look very different. There were a lot of junctures where I had big decisions to make, like tearing down the back of the house. I very well could have not torn it down, and I could have not done the third floor addition, which when I bought the house, I did not plan to do a third floor addition. That was kind of like a one thing leads to another, and like things are going well and I'm making money from YouTube. So I think that I can swing this, but it was scary decisions. So yeah, if you have the means to do it, and if you have a good buffer, and if you have well, I guess I didn't have construction experience, but I had architecture experience to back me up. Totally worth it to have what you want. And for me as a designer, some people don't care as much about their space. They want just something that's clean and nice, looks good, whatever. But as a designer, like I have my interests, like the natural light you see behind me and the old beams, the exposed brick, and to be able to use my own house as like a playground for ideas is valuable in a whole other way. My renovated house cost hundreds of thousands more than I could sell it for. It made no sense financially whatsoever, but it wasn't about the money for me. Yeah, that's how I feel as well. You just go into it for different reasons, and I think it very much is a luxury to be able to make something how you want it. So I'm really thankful to have been able to do that. Viable now that you're in a position where you can get a lot of materials and work paid for by YouTube sponsors and such. Oh, is the neighbor's house more viable? Yes. Yeah. The big holdup I have with the neighbor's house is, and actually the video I'm working on right now is designing my other neighbor's house, which is like around the block. And that is much more attractive to me because it's his house, he's paying for it, and I just get to design it and work on it and make videos. So it's like way lower overhead, like compared to my house where I was spending $20,000, $30,000 some months on materials and subcontractors. where I can get all the same things content wise, but none of that cost. And I actually get paid for my time designing and helping. So that's awesome. As far as the neighbor's house, I don't want to do a rental. I don't think that I want to deal with that. And so I guess I would do it and I would sell it. But then it gets weird. Does someone want to buy a house that's like on YouTube? Is that a privacy issue? I don't know. I think it would be cool if I could find someone, maybe buy the house and start renovating it and tell people like, hey, I want this house to go to someone who needs a house, and bring someone in earlier in the process to help make decisions or something. Could be interesting, but yeah, the issue is just like narrative wise. YouTube, like the story with this house is incredible. Like my first house, the termites, the challenges, like it just naturally unfolded into a great story. And I really care about it because I'm going to live here. But if it's like a rental property, you just don't have the same investment. So maybe if I, like I said, if I found someone who would be interested in buying it after the renovation, or potentially who would be interested in funding it, it could be their house and I could design it and build it, and then they would pay for it and own it. So yeah, structure wise, trying to figure it out because I don't need the space. I don't need a second house. Are you going to make a recap video, total up all the costs? Yep, definitely will do that. Why most Americans build their homes using wood and plasterboard when it's so prone to fire and termites? Is it really that much more expensive to build in proper materials like brick? Proper materials. I mean, there are issues with brick and stone too that I've seen on my own house. A lot of the brick is crumbling. And the problem with brick is it's a lot more expensive here because we don't have the specialty labor. We have less masons than carpenters because we have a lot of wood available. So it's super expensive to dispose of if you have to demo a wall. Like if my front facade turns out not to be structural enough and I need to tear it down, just the weight of the brick and the labor to tear it down is so much more expensive than wood frame. So even if wood might be somewhat temporary, like it might need to be rebuilt in 50 years, our tastes are going to change in 50 years and it's not that expensive to modify it. So it's part of the equation. Bonjour from France. No wood construction here. Yeah, stone and render. And also, there are places in the US where we build with stone. I mentioned earlier, like in Florida, just because of the climate and because of termites and bugs, and a lot of the South, they just have a lot more humidity, bug issues, wood rot, and also hurricanes. And they'll build out of stone. But yeah, here in this climate, in this area, we don't really need to. So a lot of it goes back to climate. A lot of it goes back to what resources are available. What's your favorite project you've done on the house? Speaking of masonry, actually, I think that my favorite work on the house was the masonry, and specifically in my back alley, there's a steel header that I put in, and the edge of my wall was deteriorated. And before I put in the header, I needed to get into that, and it was like the biggest, like, I don't know, moment of realization of how confident I'd become, because looking at it, once I took all the brick out, I was looking into my house. The whole corner of brick was gone. There's like, it was very precarious structurally, but I had enough confidence and knowledge about masonry that I thought it was okay. And like, I just never would have thought I'd be comfortable doing something like that. And it turned out great. I don't know. Now looking at it, I'm really proud of that work. And I actually really am trying to find projects for the bricks I've salvaged to do fancy brickwork, because I walk around the city and I love looking at the beautiful masonry details of these old houses. So I want to build something. That I had a lot of fun with that. It's like Minecraft in real world. Thanks for the explanations. Brick is also expensive in Europe. Absolutely love your design choices, especially the light well. Shocked how fast you are with Reno. Well, I appreciate it. And it's funny you say it's fast. It's crazy because I have built connections with different general contractors in the city, and it's crazy how fast they put stuff up. And I see why people don't do all the things that I did, like working with the old doors and trying to save old materials and like just a lot of circuitous stuff that I did that added a lot of time. Because when I see proper like GCs with experience, they put stuff up so fast. It's remarkable. Do I play The Sims? I played a ton of The Sims growing up. That was the first experience I had, I think, with like 3D modeling. Really, I wouldn't even play with the people. I would just build modern houses in The Sims, and I think that was pretty formative. Any architecture company showed interest in you? Um, Not expressly. I don't. People don't reach out offering me jobs because I'm not really looking for that. But I stay in touch with the firm I used to work at. I was at a happy hour there a little while ago at Ewing Cole in Philadelphia. They designed Citizens Bank Park. That's the coolest project they have. But I worked in science and technology doing lab buildings and pharmaceutical manufacturing facilities for 3 years. And I made a lot of friends there. And I know a lot of architects there. And I'll stop back in every once in a while. And they say there's a job there for me just in case YouTube doesn't work out. I can always go back. Do you foresee yourself undertaking similar or more ambitious project for your next house? What would your ideal build resemble if money, time were no object? Yeah, I don't know what that'll look like. I don't know. I guess I'll want to build another house for myself eventually. Maybe if I do have kids, and I'm hard to tell if I want to stay in the city like a decade from now. I don't know what my life is going to look like. I hope I want to stay here. Um, but yeah, I would love to do a more stately row home, similar to the one I'm designing for my neighbor Weiss. That row home, and they get even better than that one. The video next week is going to be that design and that house, so you'll see more about that. But yeah, just one with a big stately staircase and just more historic details to work with would be really fun. And even with this house, there are so many opportunities where I wish that I wasn't scared. So I was so scared. When I was designing this, I didn't know what it would cost. I have no experience in this and I don't really have a budget and I don't know what my income is going to be from YouTube. So it was like I would design something cool and then I would back out thinking like, I don't know if I can afford that. Like, am I going to run out of money? Is this all going to flop? So a lot of places I kind of cut ideas in my own house that for a next house, maybe I'd be confident enough to pursue. Generally, I just want to do more funky, weird, unconventional architectural things. Uh, Secretly don't want you to ever finish. I don't think I'm going to finish ever either, actually, because I don't know. I have so many projects, and by the time you finish, or by the time I finish the trim and whatever, I'll be bored and I'll want to redo a bathroom or redo the kitchen, like come 10 years from now. So I think it'll always be a process until I have another project to dedicate my energy to. Um, Will you do fancy brickwork for your patio floor? I've thought about that, a herringbone, but it just doesn't really make sense. Like the concrete is plenty fine. And yeah, I don't know. I want to save the bricks to build like a planter or maybe for my facade, or I have other ideas also where I want to do some brickwork. So we'll see. Hope you're getting a bit of downtime. Yeah, yeah, I'm honestly ready to get back into it. Like it was surprisingly sustainable. Like I definitely got a little burned out by the end, and the rush to move in was pretty substantial. And I think I was pretty beat up by then because it was like 90 weeks. But yeah, the past month has been slow for me, and I just got back from a beach vacation, so I'm feeling good now. Give us some insight into yourself and your hobbies. I haven't had any hobbies since doing this house really. Yeah, I used to go to the gym every day pretty much, and then I quit my gym membership to save money and to put that energy into the house. So I might get back into that. I skateboarded for 15 years. I still skateboard a little bit, but I got older and I started hurting myself. I twisted my ankle real bad once and it never was the same. So I kind of stopped doing that. I enjoy climbing at the climbing gym, enjoy hiking, I enjoy backpacking, um, walks. Morgan and I go on a walk around the city probably once a day at least. Just walking around and looking at architecture is such a therapeutic and insightful process because I feel like I can log everything in my mind and then draw on everything that I've seen and studied when I go to design something. So highly recommend that. Oh, and drawing. I've sketched. I have like, I don't know, 2 dozen full sketchbooks probably since high school. I've loved to sketch and draw. Your beach town of choice. I grew up going to Ocean City, New Jersey, and then Wildwood a little bit. And I just got back from the Outer Banks, which probably isn't worth the drive, but it is interesting to get a change from the Jersey Shore. What will you do with the wallpaper leftovers on the brick wall behind you? Wallpaper. Oh, yeah, that blue stuff. I'm gonna stucco or plaster over all that. I have the material. I just need to do it. I got some fine sand, and I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, all the masonry is pretty fun, but it's you got to get right. And there's certain things like you have to with the lime plaster, you mix it, and then you have to let it wait for a while to like start hydrogenating or something. I don't really know. I'm not an expert in these things, but if you don't do it right, the stucco or plaster isn't like sticky and it just falls off the wall, and it's really frustrating. The other thing I want to do is like a lime wash over it before I plaster because that helps the adhesion. Because some of that's plaster, some of it's on paint, and if you do a little lime and water, brush it on, and then wait like 30 minutes, it like gives it a tackiness. Sketchbook tour. I did one on Patreon a little bit ago, and I would love to do more. Not right now, but yeah, I'm really proud of all my sketchbooks, and there's a lot of stuff in there. So, do you have any more photography exhibitions coming up? I have nothing planned at the moment. I do have an idea potentially. It's not really a photography exhibition, but I have a lot of work from previous exhibitions. And when I moved everything from my apartment to here, I realized how much stuff I have, way more than I can ever put up in this house. So I thought about selling it locally. And then if someone buys it, or I can ship it too, but if someone buys it local, they could come and see the house for a brief tour and pick up the print. So you get a piece of art and to see the project. I think it'd be fun. And it's a great way to just clear out, these prints that are currently gathering dust in my fourth floor storage space. Um, Really cool idea. Yeah, glad you like it. Yeah, it's just tricky to coordinate. Like I would have to make a website to list them, and then how do you organize the time frames of when people are coming? A lot of logistics that I just haven't been interested in figuring out yet, but eventually, as I get back into the swing of things. But yeah, House of the Plant Lovers paradise with all the light. Yeah, I've got plans, and like my last apartment, the Monstera I had got too big for that space really, and I'm so excited to fill this place with plants and then see it a decade from now. Like plants are a slow grind, and once they're all like mature in this space, yeah, it'll be awesome. It'll be awesome. I want it to be a jungle up here. Uh, Rebuild your house in Minecraft for flashbacks of past and present. Yeah, that would be full circle moment. Um, I'm gonna wrap it up by the way at 11 o'clock. So if you have any burning questions, get them in now. Uh, involved in the planning process. Another question I'm seeing up above: were your girlfriend and roommate involved in the planning process of the house? Um, yeah, definitely. Definitely. My roommate Jess is pretty low key and he's happy with whatever. So he didn't have very many aesthetic convictions. And also he'll probably live here for a year or two. So he didn't feel the need to like really personalize it. He just needed a space that was functional for him. And my girlfriend Morgan, yeah, for a year and a half, all I could talk about was the house. So I ran a lot of ideas by her. And often when I was doing my rendering, and still I this past month, I keep just like rendering different furniture layouts and different rugs and trying to figure out what I want to buy for the house. And I talk her ear off about it. So she gives me a lot of feedback. Your biggest regret doing maybe half hearted or just cheaper out of fear for budget? Um, yeah, I would say one is the skylight, which I actually switched out. Shout out to Michael from Velux for that. I almost cheaped out enough to not make the skylights operable, which would have been a huge mistake. But I did cheap out in that I got the crank ones, but you can get the motorized ones, which have rain detection and a motorized shade, and like they're expensive. But moving forward, I will probably splurge on that because it makes the skylights way more functional having a little remote. And also on hot days to be able to close it to stop the sun from coming in is super nice. The other big regret, huge regret, honestly, it's really frustrating now. The back room of the house, I actually got scared about budget and I decided the back room, I'm just going to leave it as is. As the project progressed, I ended up doing a lot back there. Like I rebuilt the little nook because it was like termite damage, terrible. But the roof back there is a disaster. The ceiling is a disaster. It's an unvented roof. It's going to get mold in it. It's a disaster. I redid the floor structure and the floor, which is good, but I'm just stuck in a terrible limbo where eventually I want to put in a big sliding door. So I don't want to do the trim on the door and window, but I don't know when I'm going to do the door because I need to get a permit. And it's like, it's so annoying. And I wish I just included that in the permits. My fear was that I wouldn't be able to afford like a nice big sliding glass door. And that then I would have to do that to close out the permits. So I ended up breaking it into two projects. And it's a lot easier if you just do it all at the same time. Hopes and dreams for the backyard. Love the videos, the way you edit your videos. Blast tuning in. Glad you enjoy them. Yeah, the black backyard, it's a small space, but I hope to have a lot of plants. And speaking of that big glass door, the whole point is I want to connect the living space to the backyard to make the backyard feel like an extension of the living room. So potentially I'll build like a very shallow, low deck to make it level. So the floor, it's not a step down, but still the water would drain down to the concrete so that I don't have any water intrusion issues. And then, I'd love to see a planter at the back wall so that when you're in the house, you see all the plants in the back. Plus a great area to sit out in the sun, area to repot plants, and probably keep some type of area for construction projects because it's all the space I have. Still going for that glass floor. I've started to have doubts just because it would be a big invasive project and the LVP looks pretty good. And I would worry that it wouldn't look good or that doing the glass floor would hurt I don't know if I'm too worried about hurting the value of the house. More so worried about it not looking good. I don't know, but actually, when I was at the beach, I visited a lighthouse which had a really interesting detail where instead of like a big piece of glass, they had a bunch of like crystals, maybe yay big, like diamond shaped things embedded into a steel framework to let light down through the floors of this lighthouse. And that could be really cool because the other thing is privacy. Like, I love having the third floor to myself, and that floor is right outside the bathroom and I'm often walking out there in not much clothes. So not having just glass, but having like some opaque crystally things that like diffuse the light and make it interesting would be really, really cool. The LEDs under where you're planning to do the glass floor. Yes, I am still planning to do that, but it's actually really complicated because that light switch is a three-way switch from the first floor, second floor, and third floor. There's three switches. And the function of that light is to navigate the whole stairwell. So if I don't do the glass floor, I need to come up with a new solution to get light up to the third floor so that it helps you getting up there so you can turn that light on the second floor, get up, then turn it off. So there might be lights on the side, like pointed at the brick wall, that help illuminate kind of the whole space. So I still have to kind of figure that out. Does the house smell good? Slash, what does it smell like? That is a funny question. Yeah, you don't really get that on YouTube. It varies. It smells a whole lot better than it used to, and it's kind of funny tracking like when does that old house smell leave, and really it's once drywall's in and paint's in. But yeah, like I got that old Victorian couch, and then it started to smell weird, and I think it's probably from the couch. And also, I think that we smell smoke coming through the neighbor's wall, which is kind of annoying. And also, I'm not totally sure, but sometimes there's like a weird smell, and it might just be neighbors smoking, and that's city life for you. Thought about doing any smart home stuff. Um, Not really. I use Philips Hue, and that's enough for me. I like to do automations for like just some vibey ambient light, so that when you go into the space, there's always like a little bit of light. I had that at my last apartment, and it's pretty nice in the evening, just having like a set vibe that turns off at like midnight or maybe even like 11 p.m. Pretty functional too. Um, Gotta sage the place. Yeah. Or an ozone generator to remove smells. Everything you've learned about me tells me I'd love Vancouver. Probably. I've never visited, but I've heard it's a great city. I know you have some Art Deco buildings there that I did consider visiting, so maybe that's on the docket. Any updates on if the connected house is sold? Opportunities. No, so it's a very flexible situation. I have a good relationship with the guy, but there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen because the guy I communicate with is the son of this older guy, and then there's a lot of siblings in the family, so like everyone has a say. So they're trying to figure out what's happening. Long story short, they told me they would give me a call when they're definitely going to list it. Otherwise, they're just waiting for me to maybe make an offer, and they'd consider an offer. So it's a pretty flexible situation, and I'm not in a rush right now. A live where you build your house on The Sims would be fun. Would be kind of fun. But it, it's nice graduating from The Sims and from Minecraft to the architectural programs because you have so much freedom. And honestly, like, when I do the renderings in the videos, it feels like this. If it is a video game, like it's in Unreal Engine, which is the same rendering engine that a lot of video games use, and it's pretty much The Sims. Pretty much The Sims. But I can upload my own textures to look at a rug on Amazon and then put it into my space and see what it would look like matched with my exact Victorian couch, and like just a lot of flexibility. Plans for solar panels, heat pump. Electricity is so cheap in the US, it doesn't make any sense. How's the humidity in the basement? Do you have heat recovery unit? I don't have a heat recovery unit. I love the idea of solar panels, but I don't have a ton of area. And also, my roofs are facing east and west, so there's not like a great south facing section. Um, and I mean, energy, I feel like it's getting more expensive with AI and data centers. Like my bills now, even without running the AC the past month, we really haven't had to. And it was still $200 for electric. So I'm worried this month now that AC is running. The unit on the upper left. Yeah, you can see it up there. That mini split, you need that in the city on a third floor, the ducted system does not get up here. Like when I got back from my vacation, there was AC running on the first floor, and it felt great because it was like 90 and humid. And we got up here, and it was like 90 and humid, and we had to turn on this unit, and now it's comfy. Um, yeah, he has a heat pump on the third. Yes, I do. Yeah, and I there's actually issues. My bedroom's up here, and that's ducted, but because the thermostat is on the first floor, which gets very cold, the ducted system is not suitable for the third floor bedroom because it just won't run because it keeps temperature well on the where the thermostat is. So that's been an issue because I need to turn on the mini split and then leave the door open. Um, but once it's like at a temperature, it's fine. It was just like that initial cooling down that was kind of a challenge. Um, yeah, it was a much more expensive option, but in the future, I would definitely consider ducted mini splits. So each floor is a zone, which works really well with roommates too, because then if I'm away or my roommate's away, we can just run the systems that we need, which is kind of like the case here. When I was away, we don't have to run this upper unit. But a ducted mini split would mean that on each floor, the two bedrooms and the one bathroom on that floor would be ran from the one ducted mini split. Instead of a wall mounted head, you'd have one return and then like ducts. For some reason, it was way more expensive though. Yeah, especially since I have the skylights. Yeah, yeah, it gets hot up here. So I'm very glad I did the mini split, and that was an extra $5,000. Money well spent. Um, yeah, smarter system, thermostat per layer or level. Yeah, I don't know if one unit, if it could kick on and do just the third floor and not do the first floor. I guess if you had dampers maybe in the ducts that could shut off, depending on what those thermostats say. I'm sure there are good systems for that type of thing. Did you talk about the front facade? Yeah, I did, and I can give you the rundown. Uh, if under the stucco is a mismatch of different bricks, it's probably I would guess it's mostly original bricks. Maybe there's a repair. Who knows? But the real issue is just the condition of the brick. Like when they do stucco, they nail a metal lath into the brick, and you have to trust that they were hitting the mortar, not the bricks. And it's hard to get matching bricks. The pile of bricks I have is like chimney bricks. They're not facade bricks. So that's a big thing I need to look into if I'm going to seriously like restore and repair the bricks. I need to find a source. And it's a very scary project because I have no idea what it's like. And once you tear off the stucco, there's no going back. So yeah, I don't know when I'm going to be ready to do that project. But when I do it, I need to replace all the windows. I'll consider getting original wood windows and maybe shutters and like bringing back the historic look. I think that would be kind of cool for this house. So we'll see. Internet provider, fiber over there. I have Verizon and I have like gigabit something. Honestly, my internet was terrible at my apartment. So having the Ethernet and having this internet has been great. I think it's like $80 a month and I can upload videos a whole lot faster. And it's good. Opinion on AI as a creative. Always love thumbnails/photos. Yeah, AI, it's tough, man. It's real tough because I use it. Like I use Chat GPT probably too much. Like, and it's really easy to get into the habit of doing that, just to bounce ideas, to brainstorm, to do all kinds of things. And that's a little different than generative AI. Like I've explored a lot of generative AI, and like I do disagree that I don't know. Some people say that AI can never be art, or they say it's inherently different because you're just typing words. I don't know. It's hard to synthesize my thoughts. I'm still gathering them, but like I do think I like to compare it to photography. Painters when photography was invented, thought that photography was like a hack, and it's like taking painters' jobs. And what's the difference? The photography argument is you press a button, that's not art. How could that be art? But then it moved the goalposts. Now it's not about just a photorealism. It isn't impressive anymore. That's a button. But what is impressive is composition and lighting and storytelling and all the things that make it art. So now people are saying AI isn't art because you're just typing a prompt. But like, you know what I'm saying? It's pressing a button versus typing a prompt. It's like similarly unartistic. So now it's just the goalpost has moved. Now light and composition and making a beautiful image is not hard. Anyone can do that. But what is art is the exploration. So like I used AI to make skyscrapers because I have 200 skyscrapers documented and a book on it, and it's my passion. I love architecture and documenting these buildings. So I was able to feed my skyscraper images into AI and then generate all kinds of things that just, are inspiring to me as a designer to see what it can come up with. So I think that is like more in line with like it's part of an artistic process. It's part of a thread of investigation, and I'm using it just as another medium, like I'm using photography and like I use sketching and like I use rendering to explore ideas. Of course, if you're just like making nonsense, it's not art. But I think that you can have AI art, but terribly problematic with stealing artists' work, with and even like it takes a job from me, like the job of designing and the job of rendering, like that's a lot of time and money, and now someone can use AI and cut me out. So it's like it's loaded and complex, and I can't figure it out yet. And the challenging thing with all of it is it does feel like you have to use it because that's the way the world's going. And if you're not using it, you'll get left behind. That's what people say. And it's true. It's like it's hard to compete with other people that are using these tools. So it's very complicated. Um, for writing projects, I use AI transcripts and it's a godsend. Yeah, like AI is a tool. Like I use AI for every thumbnail. The homes are not AI, and I have to. It's annoying because someone says like, I hate the AI thumbnails, and I can't say flat out no AI because I use it to extend the left and right. But that's not what the image is about. It's just nonsense. It's reformatting the image, and the AI is using what I did and what I captured with my camera and just making it horizontal. But the house itself is still a real house in Philadelphia that I photographed. The color grading and the concept and the look is all my artistry, but it saves me probably 2 hours of manually finding another image, extending the background, clone stamping, and it's the same result. And it's not creatively satisfying for me to do that. It's busy work. It's reformatting an image. So tools like that, it makes my life easier and hard to complain about it. But yeah, then you look at data centers and rising electricity costs and I don't know, taking everybody's jobs. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I think a lot about it. Software engineer, my job is like the end of no other choice. I just click the button now and the machines do the work. Yeah, it's terrifying. It's really terrifying. And what's crazy is like what makes me any different? Like I think we're gonna have AI that's gonna learn from all the home reno YouTube channels, and you will see no different. There will be no difference. It'll be a charismatic person on camera renovating a house, doing great architecture, making sound decisions. Like everything will be the same. The only difference is it doesn't exist. And I think a lot of people don't really care. Like, I mean, you hope that they care, but the experience and the enjoyment that someone can get about watching that would be akin and the same to me. So the only difference that I can provide is something like this, like a live chat. Well, okay, I could be AI right now. It's crazy. Um, the only difference is that theoretically you could come and see the house in person, or the idea that you could send me something, a physical object that I could have in the house. But even that AI could probably do. So yeah, that it gets scary. I mean, it's like um, everyone is at risk. I work in VFX portfolio, kind of lost motivation the last few years. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's scary because it does take motivation away from me as well. Like even doing architectural drawings like I used to, it's so much work to make a really cool visual, stacking layers of line work and 3D modeling and making something that now anyone can make. And like in architecture, it's all about your portfolio. If I'm going back and I have to get a job in architecture, you need a good portfolio, be good with visuals and visual communication. That's what it's all about. And yeah, when someone can show up with an AI portfolio that you can't tell the difference, it's scary. AI will always be stuck in the past. Sure, uses pre-existing data. Yeah, so it'll never make a truly new decision, but I think it can because like I can be the one that makes it make a new thing. Like when I was doing skyscraper generation, which was like 2 years ago. So it's gotten so much better, I'm sure. I could say, I'd give it an image of the building and then I'd say, this is a 500-foot tall statue of an Art Deco soldier that you see the windows in it and it's made of this. So it's like, I can be the one to make it hybridize what it knows about sculptures and buildings and then mix the two together. And maybe it's new. I don't know. Hand sculpted, have them like not sure we can trust the AI for engineering drawings though. Yeah, like I think that it's gonna be a bit as far as trust. Um and like the trades are pretty safe because there's so many on-site decisions that have real consequences of like life and safety that you can't have an AI like evaluate the brick and make a decision and build a house and then it collapses. Who's liable if AI told you to do it? Like you got to sue Sam Altman. Uh, so yeah, trades, building, like anything that interfaces with the physical world, I think is the safest for sure. Um, your imagination, not the AIs. It would still only generate the picture from what it already knows. Yeah, yeah, it's fair. I think what someone said earlier about like losing motivation because of AI, I think that's one of the biggest risks, and I feel it. Like I used to, for a decade, I did photography and I did Photoshop editing. And if you look on my Instagram, you can scroll back. I have thousands of images and I would spend hours photoshopping, masking things out, adding fog and atmosphere, and my style was kind of what AI looks like. My style was intentionally like um, slightly surreal, I would call it, or like just it looks real, but something's wrong. Like it almost feels like uneasy because it's too clean. I remove all the distractions, so it doesn't feel like it feels almost like a movie set. But and I love that aesthetic, and I loved exploring that, and exploring the city to take these photos. And now, if I don't want to do that because everyone's just going to say it's AI, and it's so frustrating when you do put in artistic energy into something and then you get comments saying it's AI. That's like the worst feeling, and it makes people not want to make art, which is really sad. Yeah, some of your art is a couple of MKBHD videos. Yeah, one time uh, I got a bunch of DMs because in his video he pulled up Instagram to test his phone on a phone review, and the first thing that came up was one of my photos, one of my photoshopped images I posted on Instagram. And then I checked and I was like, oh dang, he follows me. And we got in touch after that and worked on some things together. And yeah, that was pretty cool. Planning on finishing the basement eventually. Yeah, not finishing it. I don't believe in that. I think it's a dangerous idea because of moisture. I'm sure you can do it well, but just the risks of mold and stuff, I don't think it's worth it. So it'll be a studio or like a workshop, a big table, storage for all my tools, and like a woodworking shop will be pretty cool. Yeah, interesting. Someone saying that 15 years ago, Photoshop was more manual. Yeah, and when I was using Photoshop, I actually didn't trust the auto masking tools because they never seemed to get it good enough. So every one of my high rises images or row homes or any of my work actually, all of it is hand masked because I would like to get in and then I would make sure it's good. It was too much work. I'd do the auto tool and then I'd end up zoomed in fixing all the edges anyway. So it didn't work for me, but now it's probably way better and probably works. But that type of thing, like that's where AI can be a tool and can be good, where it's just saving time. But I think a big part about art and like my experience drawing and doing Photoshop, like part of it is the time. Like part of it is the grind and it is the like that's the artistic process and sometimes it's the time when you're masking that you're thinking and it's an opportunity for creativity and it also whether this is a good thing or bad thing, I think there's a good thing about AI that it removes some of the gatekeeping that everyone can make art now. And that's one of the promises that is something, but it's like, you know, some people don't have the time or patience to do that masking and they maybe they want to create something and having that masking tool helps them create that. Maybe that's a good thing. Um, Classical music is the only true artistic profession safe from AI. You can replicate. I don't know, man. AI is so good and it has all of human existence in it or something. And I think that it will be able to make the most moving classical music. Maybe not. I don't know. I hope not. But it's scary good. Everyone could always make art. Everyone can make slop now. Yeah, I mean, like I was saying before, it's like art. I think just making a beautiful image now isn't art. It's like photography. So painting at one point, doing photorealism was art. It was incredible. The skill required to paint photorealistically, incredible. And then photography comes along, and now everyone can do photorealism, which used to be the creme de la creme end goal, like of some artists. Not everyone cares about photorealism, but that's very similar to today. And it's like, sure, everyone can take a photo on their iPhone. That doesn't mean it's art. And in photography, we often talked about um, a snapshot versus an image. Like, is this something where you take out your phone and take a picture, or is it something where you're moving through space to create a composition, to arrange elements in a frame? And I think it's very similar to AI. Now, anyone can make a oh, and back to photography. Now, instead of photorealism as the goal, now it's actually storytelling, composition, lighting, everything that photographers care about. And now everything that photographers care about can be done in AI. So anyone can make beautiful images with cinematic lighting, with interesting stuff going on. So where's the goalpost now? I think it's just in artistic intention. Like, where does this piece sit in the context of the rest of an artist's exploration of the world or expression of themselves? It's not the standalone image isn't even important. It's about the context it lives in. So yeah, I think everyone making AI, it's like anyone being able to take a photo with their phone. And I don't think that means that some people can't do interesting things or push art forward in some way using a new medium. Everyone can make music or art, but it's the individual story and connections between viewer, listener, and the artist. Yeah, yeah, totally. Like I think that it's all about narrative. It's all about the story behind the image. and the context behind it, the life experiences that led to it, what the person who created it is trying to tell. And in some ways you can say that maybe it doesn't matter that to create that thing they just typed in words if that thing they created is an artistic expression. Uh, and I think that is kind of a controversial idea, and it's hard for me to even say it because I there's all these other issues with AI. Um, so I don't want you to think that I'm like that pro AI. I just think it's nuanced, and some people are too quick to say that that it's all slop or it's not art. Controversial, controversial. Photography is an art too. My roommate is much better than I. It takes a real skill. AI is like asking a company to make something for me. I would never claim that it's something I made. Yeah, but I think people do make it in the sense that you like when I made my buildings, I put in my image as a prompt, and then I also prompted it with words and I got something back. It's something that wouldn't have existed if I didn't bring it into existence. Um, but I think that part of it, like I said before, part of art is the grind. It's the time. Like there's something about art that like sitting down and drawing. Like I've done drawings for 10, 15 hours where you're just sitting every line, every detail, and you obsess over it and you put yourself into it. And there's something about the time creating it that I do think gives like a work of art value and makes it connected to you that you don't get when you just prompt once and it spits out an image. But at the same time, when I was doing the skyscraper stuff, I would be locked in for hours, and it's not like I do one and it's done and I'm happy with it. I could generate hundreds, and then I'm a curator. I'm not showing everything the AI is making. I have a vision, and I'm fighting with this tool, trying to make it make what I want to see. So it's not a quick process. It's an iterative back and forth. So can you make a comparison there to the artistic process with physical mediums? Maybe. Do you have any interest in trains, particularly in Art Deco periods, steamliner trains inspired by Art Deco? I don't know, not a big interest. More honestly in the infrastructure, like train stations. But yeah, like streamline modern is a cool style. Hard to post more nuanced takes in the YouTube live chat character limit. Yeah. I gotta back up and see what you guys are saying because it's it. I think it's interesting to be nuanced because everyone else is very or a lot of the takes I see are really broad stroke and kind of emotional, which I get because it's a scary time. As a creative, I think we first get excited by the idea, and then the labor is in the execution. Gen AI massively speeds that up, which feels satisfying, but we lose the fine decision making. Yeah, I would totally agree. I know the conversation is very deep, but if you read this, just know your series has been a pleasure following along. Yeah, I'm really off the rails. I enjoy talking about this type of stuff. So uh, maybe this is one of my hobbies. That was a question earlier. I think it's a bit like draw the line on what's a pet versus food billboard meme. AI for finding cures for cancer, etc. Go ahead. Feels like there's some place where it just feels wrong. Yeah, yeah, totally. And I think people feel that way. Like this is supposed to make us work less and let us be creative, and now it's taking the creative stuff. It in some way it feels like there's no need for that. Um, and I would agree. I would say that it is a form of expression. It yields a visual interpretation of your idea, but the creative aspect of it only extends as far as conceived or conceiving said idea. Yeah, I would argue that it extends to the iteration. Also, you conceive the idea, you get an image, and then you refine your idea based on what that image gave you, and there is a feedback loop that has creativity in it. And a side note, just a shout out to photography. Really awesome hobby, and if anyone has thought about doing it, highly recommend, because what AI doesn't let you do, like eh, with art, you got to enjoy the process of making it because it takes a lot of time sometimes, maybe if you're not using AI, and it's got to bring you joy or relaxation or expression or happiness, right? And photography is wonderful because it gets you out into the world. For me, exploring the city, or even people that like taking photos of birds or taking photos of anything, like it really is letting people see the world through your eyes. And like I love photography, like obviously a million times more than I love the medium of AI. Um, so that's obviously not what I'm saying, but I think, yeah, thinking about it as a medium, I think there's kind of a place for it. Any other home renovation YouTube channels you'd recommend? Your transparency. Well, one that's more niche is Gemma Wheeler. I've mentioned her before, and she's not a renovation channel, but she is a architecture channel where people send in weird, quirky structures, and she designs small functional homes out of them, like out of water towers or old pump stations or whatever. It's really cool. Love her work and definitely inspired by what she does. And I actually was inspired to make my renderings better because of her. And the first visuals I shared of my house were like terrible, and then I upgraded because of Gemma. Oh, also, uh, oh, what's his name? I mentioned it in a video. Muujin, yeah, I love his videos too. He goes so hard. Like his last video is stripping paint off a door, and it took him like a month. It's like such a ridiculous amount of effort for like kind of a mediocre result, but you just have to respect the grind. Um, great discussion. Can we meet again next week? Half series. Yeah, it's fun. I obviously in the videos I don't have chances to discuss this stuff, and it's nice to talk about because I have thought about making videos on AI. Um, but I'm just like scared too, and I feel like I keep having to refine my thoughts on it, and it's just more natural to do that in a conversation setting rather than like setting up a camera and sitting down and filming. Like it, that feels very final and very like regrettable depending on how things shake out. You don't want to be um, you never want to be wrong when you put things out, but I feel like in a conversation you're allowed to be wrong and you're allowed to just express what you're thinking. So that is cool. Yeah, I think it was Muujin. I said Muujin. If you didn't get that, you should check out his videos. I actually looked at his videos for the brick cleaning and restoration. He has a great video tutorial that's when I mentioned him, I think, because I used his video to make a lot of choices because he studied it and did it and taught it. So why reinvent the wheel? Wait, you're live right now. Yeah, hey, welcome. Nuanced topic. I feel like people get attacked too much for changing and evolving their opinion. Yeah, it's scary to have takes online, and it's scary for me. Like I've thought about doing the AI video, trying to make the take that AI can be art, which is a contrarian take, and it's complicated, and I don't want people to get the wrong idea. And I feel like some people would be so mad that they would just think that I love AI and then think that all the artistic things that I do are AI. And I don't know. It's, scary. Skylight Chat, a deep discussion, architecture and various philosophies. Indeed. Indeed. Sponsorships you're chasing. Oh yeah, I said it in the last video. I'm trying to get the Xtool P2 laser cutter. I need it. I need it for these projects, and it's like $5,000, so I don't want to buy it. So that's the perk of having YouTube, that I can try to get the Xtool P2 because laser cutting's sick. I did it a lot in college, and this honestly goes a little bit to the AI conversation. I need to do these decorative, ornate screens, and I built a whole model. There's a video on it, and I put like 200 hours into it, and I built it. but you could have, and I 3D printed parts, but I go back and forth between like, do I want to build a decorative screen like a model where I have wood and I'm mitering every cut and gluing it, and I could spend an eternity making this incredibly detailed thing that is a work of art, or I could get an Xtool P2 laser cutter, design it in the computer, have the laser cutter cut it, then glue it together, and then install it, and it would take a fraction of the time. And in that case, I think that the tool is valuable because I want to do more. I don't want to have to spend months and months doing one little project. I think that gets boring. My interest is more in the design and seeing something come to fruition. So even though I know that I could painstakingly cut everything and be a craftsman, we might as well take advantage of these tools and get a similar result and still be able to come up with something from my brain that I can 3D model, and then be able to have it in space. So that I really want to do that. I need to send an email to Xtool with the idea, with the pitch, and hopefully I will be able to get a machine, and I need to make space for it. I'd rather frame it as AI can be a tool for art. Yes, that's exactly what I mean, because you need the context. You need the. I think it needs to be in the context of a larger creative exploration, not just someone who sits down and just types one thing. But I don't know. It's curious. Like what I've realized is most people with generative AI, I think, don't know what to prompt. They sit down, they play with it real quick. They say put a banana on a skateboard. I don't know what people do, honestly. But like I think it does take creativity to want to make something, you know. There's something there. I don't know. Uh, Everybody bringing the love. Thanks for sharing your work. Yeah, shout out to you guys. Honestly, the comments of all the videos are unbelievably positive, and I've been on the internet for a long time because I was on Instagram long before YouTube, and yeah, there's some nasty places. There's some nasty places on the internet, and I'm really thankful that it is a nice community. And lives are a cool way to kind of build that too. It's a little more personal. Um, yeah, and it's funny too. Just a comment about the community. Whenever a video breaks out of the community, like the weekly videos have similar viewership and people who kind of have gotten to know me. And then something like the recap video that now has 2.4 million views, you get people that they've never heard of me, they've never seen the house, they don't know anything, they just come in cold. And on that video, you can see some crazy comments. Some crazy comments if you look through them, of people just like this guy's a freaking idiot. What, he wasted? So what you're telling me is he threw $230,000 in the trash and lit it on fire. It's like, whoa, man, where's all this anger coming from? Taco Bell order, I don't know, maybe a Crunchwrap Supreme, I would say. Channel Rex in general in description. I don't know what that means. 3D model still uses your hands in ways like a sculptor. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Speaking of sculpting, I was out on the beach playing in the sand. I spent hours. I built up a mound of sand, then carved out shapes out of it. I love. It's so funny. Like when people see an adult playing in the sand, they think he's like, I don't know, got problems. I'm like, this is a great medium. Like I took a landscape studio where we had to build landscape models out of clay, and the sand was a way better medium to be able to create fluid landscape forms. So like what I was doing was like first or second year architecture schoolwork, serious business. To be cringe is to be free. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Generative AI is helping with programming for my company, time and money saving. Yeah, it's interesting that AI, if you're the visionary that is trying to create a new tool or change the way people are doing things or make something new, AI is saving you time and money. It's mostly when you are a person on the back end that is the person doing marketing or writing or graphic design or book design or whatever. The people on teams that help bring other people's ideas to life. And that's what, most 9 to 5 jobs really are. That's really in danger. And people need jobs. And not everyone, like, there's just not enough room for everyone to be an innovator building new products and like trying to do things like that. So we also need other jobs that are graphic designers, etc. Pictures of your sand designs. No, what's beautiful about what I built on the sand is that it was just for me and it was swept away by the sea breeze, never to be seen again. And there's something beautiful about that. Draw any hard lines in the sand for AI. Yeah, I mean, I like, because the row home images are images that I took, I wouldn't generate a house that doesn't exist with AI based on those houses. I mean, I have for exploration, like just see what it comes up with a long time ago, but I wouldn't use that for the thumbnail because I think it jeopardizes the fact that all the thumbnails and all the homes you see in the thumbnails are all real places that you can visit. You can see it, and I documented it at a time. Well, okay, some are actually demolished, which is even crazier, but they're a mark in time, and you could visit that house and you could see how the paint has chipped more, or how the brick has deteriorated, or that it's been renovated, or whatever. So there's an authenticity to that that I wouldn't want to soil. Back to where you draw the line. I see no issue in Gen AI coding, but I'm not a coder. You look healthier. Um, yeah, fun fact for you guys is that I had a nicotine habit when I was renovating the house. Had been kind of on and off because I don't know, vapes in college and whatnot, and because renovating is hard, I had Zins, which are the little nicotine pouches. And if you look at some of the videos, you can see it in my pocket. Uh, and I quit that. That was one of my goals after the house is done because I don't have as much stress and issues. So I feel healthier as well. But man, yeah, nicotine withdrawal for creativity is terrible. I had no motivation past month, but we're back and better than ever now. Uh, Yeah, not easy. I filmed some things about nicotine withdrawal, um, because I do think it could be helpful, and I think if people look up to me for like the perseverance and persistence from this project, and to know that I did use nicotine, like a lot of people do, and that I also was able to not use it, could be motivation for people. Yeah, hooked on Zen. How did you do it, man? It's it's tough, man. I hear you. Um, for me, I really needed like an event. I think that it's really hard if you're in your normal life and you have your habits and routines, and everything is going to remind you of nicotine, kind of. So for me, I knew it was like a golden opportunity to have a clean split when I moved into the new house because it's a very like distinct time. It was specifically when I moved my mattress and my computer and when I'm like sleeping here. Because then it's like a new place. It's a new chapter. It's new routines. I think it's a great opportunity to reinvent yourself a little. It's kind of like going to college or graduating college, these milestones in our life. And I haven't moved in a decade. So it was a big kind of time for me. Row home picture books still up for sale. I only made 200 of those, and they're all gone because that was a while ago. But I do think about making a new book. I don't want to reprint the same one. Uh, but it's tricky because I don't have the time or energy right now to redo the whole book. But I think about like trying to weave in my renovation and maybe even put out a request to other Philadelphians who have cool renovated row homes where I could make it more, not just those images of row homes, but make it more of like a guide, a structural look at row homes, a little bit of the history of row homes, an analysis of different cornices and different window details and different layouts and how they used to be laid out and how they're being laid out now. What's a common layout? What's an interesting layout with the light well. So it could be really cool, but that's like a multi-year project that maybe I'll try to do on the back burner one day. It took pregnancy for me to quit. Yeah, that's another big life change for sure. And this is back to nicotine. Like, if you, I always just think like it's hard. You never imagine yourself as like a 40-year-old or as a parent having to smoke or vape or Zyn. So like that there's a point that you're not going to be doing it, and where is that point? And it's probably different for everybody. But for me, it was when I move into a house. um, that book was so cool. Really wanted it for my collection of cool books. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll put out some feelers because it would be very easy for me to just reprint the exact book. Um, really low lift, and especially if people want I would cover the cost of printing it with like pre-sales or something, and I could totally do that if people are interested. But I'm always looking for, I don't know. I just always want to be moving forward. I don't like to look at an old project because I'm not happy with it now. I was then, but now I would change things. So I don't want to re-release it until I change things. I don't know. Maybe it's a little. Uh, well, you know me. Any plans to have children? Yeah, I would like to. I'd have a couple kids. I'm the youngest of three siblings, so um, I have nieces and nephews now. All my siblings are having kids, so it's a good entry to that. And having older siblings that are parents is really great because I can get feedback and advice from my older siblings. Another book, a good move to re-release it at the same time and have them be able to purchase and ship together. Yeah, that's interesting. It is kind of like I don't know. On one hand, it's kind of cool that it's a collector's thing now that only 200 people have. It's very limited. Interesting in that regard. Um, Neighbor's House coming along. I'm actually working on a video that I do need to get back to soon. That is about the Neighbor's House. So this Monday, well, this Monday is this, but next Monday will be the Neighbor's House with a lot more detail about what is happening there. And it's going to be a little bit anticlimactic because I'm introducing it as like my next project, and that'll be kind of the title, the branding, and it's like a fun hype video of like, wow, a whole other house, a whole new project, a whole new design, like really cool stuff. But we're like in the process of getting permits, so nothing's going to happen for many months. So I'm going to release this and be like, oh, fun project, and then it's going to be back to work on my house, and then sometime down the road I'll pick back up on the Neighbor's House series. Plant tour, yeah, I tried to weave that into the house tour. Um, I don't know. I don't have all that many plants. Most are the same that are just propagated. So I have a lot of them, but I mostly it's snake plants, a lot of monsteras, uh, some aloes. The jade plant is over there. Jade plant, love that guy. Um, right over the bridge, Pops renovated 1908 apartment. They hired help scraping all the plaster to preserve the brick and lead paint. Yeah, man, it's a messy job. When everything's lead paint, trying to clean that off. Um, yeah, nice backdrop. It is crazy to occupy the space now. Second channel, yeah, here's yeah, I have a lot of like big picture channel things I'm trying to work through. For one, I'm running out of the row home images, so I'm trying to find a new visual language for the thumbnails, and it's not going well because you guys all like the row home images. So every week, pretty much, I test a row home image with a non-row home image, and every week more people click the row home image, just because it's like, synonymous now with my videos, and people recognize it immediately. So it's really tough to get away from that. And the other thing is, eventually I want to go lower effort on the weekly, and then more effort on self-contained projects, like designing the ceiling detail that I want to do with the laser cutting. It'll probably take a month, and I want to do kind of low key check-in weekly videos, and then one big video that's like start to finish the whole process, which I think just does better on YouTube. But it's nuanced. There's a lot of considerations. Um, Watching the video since the beginning. Recent grad with a BS in architecture. Any advice? What to do next? Been looking for jobs. Haven't had any good responses. Yeah, it is tough out there, and I mean, get with architecture, getting jobs. Like, I feel like so much is about the portfolio, and also I don't have a lot of experience. Like my one job, I literally just walked in, or no, actually, I think it was an email. I just emailed this firm, like cold, and I don't know, things worked out because they had a connection with my school, Drexel. They had stopped accepting Drexel interns, and they were like, "Oh, I don't know why we stopped doing that. Come on in." And then I was like the first new Drexel intern. I was only 2 years through school, so as well I was in college, but I haven't been out in the real world looking for jobs since then. That was my only like big boy job. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of advice, but for me, I mean, it's a circuitous path going on the social media route. And there are a lot of architects on YouTube that do it or try to integrate it to some level into their work. Um, but it's really hard because usually it's not worth it because the time expenditure to get started and make no money, it just feels not worth it. But if you don't have a job and you have time, I would recommend just keep designing, keep like it's actually perfect. Like you learn all the skills in school, just keep doing it. Like and then you have no restrictions. Do the coolest, like the exact project that you want to do. And if you have the time to do it, just design something crazy, do cool graphics, have a cool story, and then post that online. And if you can do stuff cool enough, then people will be interested. And then maybe someone at a firm sees it, or you can just use it, in your interview. And it's interesting. It shows just willingness to go out there and get it, basically. Yeah, job market is brutal right now. I've heard stories and I've talked with the department at Drexel, and it's still okay because Drexel is almost like a technical school. They really help you get a job. And honestly, a huge value of Drexel is the professors are all adjunct because it's night school. So they're all licensed architects that are working at firms. So if you're good in school, you graduate with like incredible connections, and that's how we get jobs in architecture in Philadelphia from Drexel. But it's really hard going in cold. Like, yeah, it feels like more and more you really need a foot in the door. Drexel goaded. Are you going to do another compilation? Yes, but I'm scared because the last one took me probably 200 hours. It was 2 weeks dedicated work, the 3D modeling and the rendering. And I would want to render everything all new because I don't want to just recycle stuff. I want to make it even better. The storytelling, it's fun, it's great, but boy, is it hard to sift through. I have, I don't know, 12 terabytes of footage and try to tell a story and keep it concise. It's really tough, really tough. But I will do that. Yeah, volunteer in your community and share your skills. You'll get noticed. Yeah, I think if you're looking for a job, you don't have a job, the thing you have, is time, and figuring out how to make best advantage of that time and try not to be too dejected about it. Like, keep your head up and keep doing interesting things, and yeah, hope the world finds a way. And doing whatever you can do to make connections. Like, one of the coolest things about photography and that community on Instagram is that all through college, it's just a very communal thing, and people would DM each other on Instagram and say, "Hey, you want to go out and take photos?" And I would do that all the time. And you meet so many interesting, like-minded people. And I think the bigger you can grow your network, and the bigger you can share what you have to offer and what your skill sets are, the more success you can have. Because it's just like putting feelers out. When you have friends that know you're looking for a job and your skill sets are X, Y, and Z, they can help put together the pieces if one of their friends is looking for that type of help. So that's what I would recommend. Any way to get in circles with people in your field, which is harder said than done sometimes. Like, photography has a very natural community, but for architecture, we don't really have that as much. So, like, yeah, it's tough. Where'd you get your energy from editing your videos on top of everything else, like 2 full-time jobs? I'm glad you see the effort, and I don't know. I mean, a lot of it is like, I can't even take credit for it. I don't know where my motivation comes from, and that's something I'm kind of just thankful for, because I've felt times where you don't have motivation, and it's like this mysterious energy, and it's like sometimes I'm scared. Like, what if I just lose motivation in general? Like, I'll be ruined, you know. So it's like I don't know where that comes from, but I think trying to stay healthy. But the big thing too is being able to do what I love is a really incredible opportunity. And even though I do work, I have no work life separation. My work is my life, and it is my passion, and it gets confusing sometimes, and there are downsides. But the good news is that it's much easier to be passionate doing this than when I was working at a firm. In the process of designing a completely new layout for the house I recently bought, would you say that the program you use for your rendering shots would be good for a hobbyist? Um, yeah, I want to make a video on that too eventually, and I've even thought about trying to make some type of course, because I get all kinds of comments whenever I show the renderings, and I do believe that it's a very useful tool that I use all the time, even just for sizing furniture, for like choosing a rug I mentioned earlier. Like, I'm not an interior designer. I don't know what looks good until I see it. So because I know the program, I can just put that rug and that chair and this and look at it and think, oh, that looks good, which saves me thousands of dollars not having to make mistakes. And of course, with architecture, I know more. And I just feel like I couldn't do it without these tools. As far as hobbyists using it, the program, yes, easily you can use that program, um, because it's like The Sims. It's super user friendly, super intuitive. The problem, it's not a modeling program. So you can pop in and put chairs around and move stuff around, but you don't have your house. So you need to model that separate, because you can't really model in that program. So you need to learn SketchUp or Blender or AutoCAD, any 3D modeling program. Then you export that over to Twinmotion, and then it's easy from there. So a little bit of a learning curve, but it's possible, and I would recommend giving it a try. Thumbnail issue, you could frame the journey in chapters. Moving in was a huge step. Start of a new chapter, new thumbnails. Yep. Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. It's like a natural time to change. It's just tough, and it's also a bit of a workload. I've had it easy just using the row home images, because I don't have to think as much about the thumbnail image. But I have a lot of photography experience, so I should do that. I don't know. I'll keep like a centered composition probably. I'll try to keep the lighting good. But here's, yeah, back to the AI thing. It feels like a waste of time to use the skills that I've cultivated for a decade making cool images, because I can use AI. I can take a crap image and use AI to make it look cool. And it's really tempting to do that because I'm busy and I want to focus on making a good video. and not spend a whole day in Photoshop doing an image. Even though, so it's tricky. I think I would enjoy it, and I want to frame it like a creative exercise every week, and potentially even include that in the video, the thumbnail image creation. But it's just a lot of work, so we'll see. How long does it take to edit your weeklies? Still amazes me how Casey Neistat posted daily. Yeah, I don't know how he did that. Nowadays, it takes probably 2 days. Like, usually I'll film all week and then I'll edit like Saturday, like kind of casually Saturday, Sunday, sometimes Monday. Probably, if I'm really focused, maybe 8 hours, but likely 16. So it's a lot of work. Um, and that's where it's like two full-time jobs because I need to work and film. That's the one job. And then sometimes I like to edit over the weekend so that I have a full week to work. And then you have no life. Wow, look at that. Dude is live from the Hive up on the third floor. It feels like a treehouse up here. Welcome, welcome. Someone said time to learn Blender. I tried. Blender is tough, man. Like, it's free, and I talked about like trying to teach people this stuff, but one of the problems is the programs I use. Twinmotion is free, but the two modeling programs, Rhino and Revit, are both paid programs, and that's a bit of a hump to get over for people that haven't even learned it yet to have to pay. They have trials, but yeah, it's tricky. Looking for a 3D walkthrough of a house I have in mind. Is an architect the person I want to hire, or maybe just a SketchUp artist? Yeah, you could probably go on Fiverr and find someone that can model a house. That's probably a good idea. An architect's probably overqualified for that. But the person might have to come to survey to take all the measurements to be able to model it, unless you can survey or have other tools to do that. How often have you used those spotlights on the beams? Yeah, not that often, but often enough. Like, I never used the big overhead lights in my previous spaces. Um, the big thing is I need a dimmer, and I'm working on that. I definitely like that they're there, and I love the functionality of the beams as like defining space, and also as a control layer to have almost like a drop ceiling but cooler, where you can have utilities up there, and you can even because it's track lighting, I can get an outlet module, so I could put an outlet up and slide it anywhere, so I could have string lights wrapped around the beams or whatever. It's super flexible. Like, I can take the spotlights out. Yeah, take them out, and I could wrap them all in fairy lights. And then the switch controls those outlets. So it's flexible. I can hang plants up there. I can store long things like my skylight pole. Very functional. Love the beams. Revit is expensive. Yeah, I pay like $600 a year, and it's too bad I pay $800 for Adobe. I just had to pay for Revit because I was mooching off my school's license for a long time. Sorry, for Rhino. That's what I meant. Hi from the burbs. Moving to the city. It's cool here. What do we got? How long do you think about the filming process? Like, where to position the camera? Yeah, it's a good question, and it ebbs and flows. Like, sometimes I'm not feeling it, and that's the weird thing with weekly. Like, you don't have a chance to be inspired. It comes and goes, and I think in the weekly videos you can probably tell when I have inspiration, and usually those videos do better. Yeah, and it's fun when I have opportunities to be more cinematic or think more about camera placement, and it just depends. Sometimes it's like you're trying to build something and the camera's getting in the way, and it's more frustrating. Other times I'm having ideas of like how the video is going to look and what shots I want to get, and like, funny things I can include. So it really just depends. Why that home? Did you look elsewhere? Yeah, I haven't talked too much about the process of actually landing on this home, and I looked at maybe 20. And honestly, it was the price and the location. Like, every other home was minimum 300 to 350, and even at that price, they looked terrible. And when I found a home for 230 in a spot that I would like, um, yeah, it was like, yeah, and the bones were good. Well, the bones weren't good enough, but the bones, as in uh, the floor heights, was a big one. I looked at one that was also 230, but it was like weird and mangled, and the ceiling heights were like 7 foot, not drop ceiling, but like the whole joists were like lowered. It's weird. So yeah, I knew I could work with it, and then the termites threw me for a loop. But you know, yeah, I said I was going to end at 11. Then we got on to the AI conversation, and here we are getting carried away, chatting and explaining things. Yeah. Um, I honestly am just procrastinating at this point. I have my Premiere open and I'm like a minute into editing this video and I don't want to. So procrastinate with me for a few more moments. How about that? Other content creators. Yeah, I just watched a Whistling Diesel video this morning. Crazy guy, crazy videos. Probably have gotten some inspiration on his editing style. Um, and it's funny because I'm not a big car guy. I just think that what they're doing is like ridiculous and you can't not watch. Um, who else? I watched some Nerd Forge. They build more like gaming fantasy inspired stuff, but I just like their creative process. And I definitely learn a lot about how they format their videos and the structure of their videos. Um, who else do I watch? Morley Kurt is great. Perkins Builder Brothers. Adam Savage tested. There's a lot. And it's kind of weird when YouTube's your job, because then when you're watching YouTube, it feels kind of like work, because I'm always trying to like learn and like take notes on people's storytelling or editing or anything like that. Hi, I'm procrastinating watching this. Yeah, join me. We're all procrastinating. It's a Monday. We all have things to do, you know. We're all not doing them. uh, what's going on? 4th of July. Yeah, it'll be fun here. It's great. The city's looking better than ever because people are coming for the World Cup, 250th birthday of America. It's like the best time to visit Philly. If you guys have ever thought about it, you should come because it's a great city. Please don't take any inspiration from Whistling Diesel. I knew that I was almost hesitant to mention because I know that it's problematic and yeah, they're great. But there's something undeniable about like the video I just watched. They put in a jet engine on an F1 car. It's like, what are you like? What is even like? You can't not watch it. Um, and behind all the antics and the oh, it's bad. You know, they're like lighting a forest on fire. It's terrible. Um, but there's some crazy engineering skill behind that. So seeing the guy building a cabin with his hands only, pretty crazy. I think my roommate Jess was watching that and telling me about it. Yeah, I've watched a couple of people like chopping down trees on their property to build a house with that wood. And that stuff is really inspiring and pretty sick. Yeah, Adam is the dad everyone wishes they had. Yeah, shout out to Adam Savage. I grew up on Mythbusters for sure. DaVinci Resolve, nope, never used it. I don't have too many qualms with Premiere right now. It's good enough, you know. Welcome to the live stream, someone said. Live stream, love the channel. Okay, I'm going to answer one more. Do you enjoy cooking? Enjoy it more now that you have a nice kitchen? Um, yeah, yeah. Morgan has enjoyed cooking here more, and it's nice to let her take the reins on that. But I did sear some steak, not last night, but 2 nights ago. Yeah, that was great. I made a big seafood dinner at the beach. That was fun too. Some crabs, shucked some oysters. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't particularly like it. Never been like big into snacking or eating in general. It's more of a necessity. Um, but I could. slow down and enjoy the finer things in life and start cooking better foods. But uh, that's for when I have time. Okay, this has been wonderful, everybody. And I think we should all get back to what we have to do on this beautiful Monday. So thank you all for stopping by. And I'm going to edit a video, and you're going to see it next Monday. Bye bye. Ciao for now. Adios. Stay cool.